Today's Daily Dose of Math is a series of questions about this periodic function. We're given this graph that shows enough repetitions of the periodic function so that we can figure out what the period is and what the pattern is. I can see that the period of this function is 8. To answer A and B is very straightforward because the portions that we're being asked about are showing in the graph we were given. What is the value of y when x equals 5? I can see that the value of y is -1. So I can answer the question using functions notation. F of 5 equals -1. Is the function increasing or decreasing between x equals 3 and x equals 4? I can see that y is -1 throughout the portion of the graph between x equals 3 and x equals 4. So I can answer my question. Using functions notation, f of 3 is -1 and f of 4 is also -1. So the function is neither increasing or decreasing. But for C, D, E, and F, the x values are too large to show on the portion of the graph that we're using. So we have to use our knowledge of the period of the function to figure out what would be happening in that part of the graph. One method, of course, is to draw the graph much bigger, but that's time-consuming. So instead, what we're going to do is calculations that involve dividing by 8, dividing by the period. So for instance, when x equals 65, I do 65 divided by 8, and I get 8 with a remainder of 1. And that means that that portion of my periodic function is going to be behaving the same as the portion at x equals 1. When x equals 65. So I can say that f of 65 is equal to f of 1, and that is going to have a y value of -2. I've answered my question. For D, we need to know what's happening when x equals 71 and when x equals 72. So I divide each of these numbers by 8. 71 divided by 8 gives 8 remainder 7, and 72 divided by 8 gives exactly 9. That means f of 71 is the same as f of 7, which is -2, and f of 72 is the same as f of 8, which is 1. Between 7 and 8, I can see that the function is increasing. So therefore, between 71 and 72, it must be increasing. I keep using the same method for E and F. When x equals 160, I divide 160 by 8, and I get exactly 20. So that means f of 160 has to be the same as f of 8, which is +1. I've answered my question. For F, we are concerned with the portion between x equals 176 and x equals 177. I divide both of those by 8. 176 divided by 8 gives exactly 22, and 177 divided by 8 gives 22 with a remainder of 1. Therefore, f of 176 is the same as f of 8, which is 1, and f of 177 is the same as f of 1, which is -2. Therefore, my function has to be decreasing. This is how we use functions notation and simple divisions by the period of our function in order to answer questions about a periodic function. That is today's Daily Dose of Math. Please like, subscribe, and share.